Broadcasting from Watts Creative Studios in Bedford, Virginia, you're listening to Life, Liberty, Happiness with your host, Brian Schley.
Hello, everybody. You're listening to Life, Liberty, Happiness. I'm your host, Brian Schley. Welcome to the State Farm Studios. State Farm is one of our many sponsors. We'd also like to thank C&S Business Services for their continued support, as well as State Farm, as I just mentioned, and Grizzly Garage Doors, and Steve and Judy Rush, Century 21 All Services. We'd like to say thanks for them continuing to sponsor our show. We got a jam-packed show today, live in studio. Brad Bankston, who is the commissioner of the Old Dominion Athletic Conference. So we're excited about that coming up. Also, coming up, we had a chance to talk with Marco Galbraith, who's an expert on mass shootings.
Yes.
With T4 Tactics. So I had a chance to catch up with him earlier today.
And former guest on the show.
That is right.
Yes.
So
great guest.
We caught up with him a little earlier. But we'll start off the show with trivia. Look at that. Woodrow is on. I tell you, he's ready for the show today.
And today's trivia is sponsored by Grizzly Garage Doors. Where can you find a reliable garage door? Central Virginia area looks to Grizzly Garage Door LLC. Jed is a veteran of the military and provides exceptional service for both residential and commercial. Grizzly Garage Doors is your place to go when you want the best. If you're building a new home or not sure what type of door is right for you, go to grizzlygaragedoorllc.com. New doors, existing door repair, replacement, and they also have emergency service capabilities. So give Jed or Chelsea a call at 434-277-2765.
That was DW. I forgot to say hi, DW.
It's okay.
And Tammy, you're over there.
It's been one of those days where I, not appreciated.
I
anyway.
appreciate you, DW.
So
Hey, look, we appreciate everything you do for the show and all the hard work you do for the town.
I appreciate it.
Thank you, Brian.
You are appreciated.
Maybe it needs to snow one more time, DW, so people.
Now you want me to cuss. No more snow.
So we did a trivia a couple weeks ago. Who was the first African American governor? We didn't get an answer to that, and so we had a trivia last week that somebody answered.
Yep.
And then I got a text message and a few emails saying, "Hey, how come you never told us the answer to the trivia?" So I realized I never gave it. So the answer is, and this was sort of a little bit of a trick question because most of the answers we got was Governor Wilder.
Doug Wilder. Yeah.
That is not the answer.
Right.
So he was the first elected governor, but the first African-American governor was actually, and this is hard, Pinckney Benton Stewart Pinchback.
What can you say that one more time, Brian?
Pinckney Benton Stewart Pinchback was his name. He became governor of Louisiana when the governor was under investigation. So he was the lieutenant governor and got promoted to being the governor. So he was the first African-American governor in the United States. Today's trivia question is not nearly as hard, but it is apropos with the guest we have. What is the first name of the Old Dominion Athletic Conference?
Wow.
Before it became the Old Dominion. It was only that for a year, I think.
You might have me on that one too, because I know it's in the.
Wow. Good job.
So, anyway, if you know the answer to that, you can call.
540-712-6221.
Or you can email.
Life, Liberty, Happiness Podcast at gmail.com or on Facebook.
So we'll let that fester for a few minutes and see if we get any calls.
Let
If
it
not,
fester.
I'm sure we will get a few emails. But on to sports.
Three, this is for the tie. It rims out. Florida chasing it down. Lewis for the tie. That's not there. Oral Roberts, the 15 seed. The upset makers are history makers. And Oral Roberts is in the Sweet 16.
DW,
Yes.
if you have been keeping up with the tournament,
I have not.
if you had Illinois as
Yes.
your pick, you lost.
Yes.
If you had Ohio State, you're done for. But if you had Oral Roberts, they were the Cinderella.
Did you have them picked?
No,
Because you went over your bracket last week.
it's pretty bad.
Which
This is the worst year. I
Brad,
think I've
do
ever
you
had.
have a bracket?
I am not allowed to have a bracket by NCAA rule, but I have my own bracket.
Yes.
And it doesn't look good.
No. Okay.
It's an internal family thing, and
Brian
the kids
he has a bracket in his office that he just looks at
I do it for myself. What's wrong
Yeah.
with that?
because it's a losing bracket. So.
It's terrible.
it's all in the red.
Yeah, I didn't even try because I know what mine would look like. So
No, actually, this would be the year because people who don't know anything about basketball probably would get a lot more correct.
I would pick it like my wife picks a racing pool. How good they look.
Yeah.
Well, he's a good-looking guy.
He's
I'll
not.
pick him.
Yeah.
I like the color uniforms they have.
Yeah.
It has fared well for me.
Yes.
Well, let me guess. Keselowski's one of your good.
No,
I
I can't
understand.
say 'em. Yeah, no, that's not one of them.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Oral Roberts.
Oh.
We got a phone call.
Got a call.
All right, so let him through there. Woodrow,
And they are through.
welcome to Life, Liberty, Happiness.
Hey, I have the answer to your trivia question.
Oh boy,
Yeah.
this ought to be good. All right, so what is your answer? Phone problems. Now, what we haven't told our guests is if you have phone problems, you are excluded from ever winning on this show again.
Oh no.
Oh.
No,
This must be Larry's sister Lisa calling.
yes. If you get a better connection, call back.
Oh, that's awesome.
We'll try that.
Bummer.
We're just kidding.
Oh man.
Are you there? Nope. Nothing.
Are they
Nope,
still
they're
there
not
with
there. Yep, we dropped them. Let's
Try 'em again.
maybe she'll call back.
You know, if we could get a cell phone sponsor for the show,
Yeah.
we could push that right
I mean,
about now.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I do want to, while we do have time, I do want to pick up one more sponsor. We have,
And that voice sounded familiar. Should we guess who that voice was?
I can guess.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with Heather Alto.
That's who I thought it was, too.
That was close. I was thinking Diane, but y'all hear more than me.
No, I think it was Heather.
Okay.
No, it definitely wasn't Diane
Okay.
because Diane would still be laughing.
Yeah.
She laughs through her answer.
We only have 3 people to call in. So
Well, first of all, yeah, we didn't tell you this, Brad, when we had you. We only have 3 people to listen to the show.
it wasn't Larry, so
That's true. But I really would like to pick up a sponsor for sports. So if you know anybody out there, we need 2 things.
Yep.
We need a sponsor and we need an intern, right, Woody?
That's right. We need a podcast intern.
The last intern ended up with a job.
Yeah,
here.
she's working. She's killing it in other areas.
So if you're interested, oh, there we go.
Oh, and then this is we got 2 callers, so this is a different number.
Oh, wouldn't that suck?
Oh,
So this is Life, Liberty, Happiness. Go ahead.
Hey, did I get in before Heather called back?
awesome.
yes, this is great. Oh, and Heather is on the other. She is in the queue right now.
Oh
So
no.
she
can
get
hear
the
you.
first shot at this.
Go ahead with the answer.
Is it Virginia College Conference?
That
All
is
right.
correct.
Oh,
Awesome.
Ding, 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 ding.
let's see if Heather hung up. Nope, Heather's holding on. We're-
So who do we have on the phone with us?
Hello.
This is Susan Martin.
Awesome.
Oh, perfect.
Awesome.
Great, Susan. Well, do you know where our studio is?
I do.
Okay, good. Slide by anytime. I'm usually around. If not, we'll catch up with you somehow.
Okay.
You got a $25 gift certificate
Yep,
to the station.
to Liberty Train Station. So
Congratulations.
Awesome.
Yes.
Great. Woody is.
Great, thank you.
Yeah,
Hey,
you're welcome.
but, hey,
Thanks for
Susan,
listening.
Susan, before you hang up, did you have Oral Roberts in your bracket?
I did not.
Okay.
Well,
At least you're honest.
I was going to choose them, and I let my husband and my son talk me out of it.
Oh,
course.
see, it's their
Yeah.
fault.
oh well.
Come on.
Well, thank you again for listening to the show. And Woody, do you still have Heather?
Yeah, let's
Let's put Heather through.
all right, let's do it. And
Heather, you there?
I said, yes, let's put Heather through. I'm going foul on this whole play.
You know what? I'm sorry. Whatever cell phone carrier you have, you probably should change.
It's Sprint. I'm telling you.
Yep.
Yeah, they're horrid.
There's
But I
that's
was like,
it.
yes, it's the Virginia College Conference.
Oh, yes, but you're the second
sorry.
person. Sorry.
Yeah. You know Susan, don't
I mean,
you?
I even knew that it was in 1975, and they changed over in 1976. I mean, I knew all of it. See, I get coins.
Yeah. Maybe call Susan up and see if she'll take you out to lunch.
There you go. You split it.
You know what? See, and I was just trying to go to lunch with Diane and see what happened.
Hey, here's what you need to do. You need to have Susan on Talk Local to me,
Yeah.
and then you can ask her to take you out
She
to lunch.
was.
Oh,
Y'all need
already.
to listen to Talk Local to me. She was on 2 episodes ago.
Oh,
Yeah.
my God.
Oh,
Well,
that's the episode you were out of town, Brian.
I was in Louisiana.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Well, we have an
It was a
internet
mis-
app for that, though, Brian.
Oh, crap. I don't get service down there.
You got Sprint.
Yeah.
That's okay. I mean, you can also check us out on Spotify and, YouTube and all
here we
that
go.
stuff
Plug in
later
the
on.
All right. Well, sorry, Heather.
I
We'll
love
catch
you
up.
guys. You're great.
Yep. We'll catch up with you next week.
Bye.
All right. So now we're done with sports and the trivia. So good. At least we had a winner this time. We didn't have one last time, I don't think. So moving on to what's happening.
What's happening?
Brian, you forgot this.
Oh, yeah.
I won. You lost. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Except for well, that's a good one to play for that. Yeah.
Dang. I messed up my clips.
What's happening? You can go ahead and read your script there.
All
Taylor.
right. Looking to buy or sell a new home or land? Call Judy and Steve Rush. They are lifelong residents of Bedford with knowledge of the local market that is unsurpassed. With over 60 years of combined experience in the local market, they are multiple award winners in their field. They will represent you and all your needs in your real estate transaction. Call Judy at 540-871-3131 or Steve at 540-871-4021 or email Judy at judyrushrealestate.com. They are with Century Allstate Services located at 415 East Main Street.
All right. So on to national news. As you know, unfortunately, there was a mass shooting in Boulder, Colorado, where 10 people are dead from a mass shooting in a grocery store. We caught up with Marco Galbraith to discuss this earlier today. All right, you're listening to Life, Liberty, Happiness. We're on the phone with Marco Galbraith with T4 Tactics. Good afternoon, Mark.
Hey, good afternoon. How you guys doing?
Oh, we're doing well. Hey, just wanted to catch up with you to talk a little bit about the mass shooting out in Colorado. Can you give us any updates on what you've heard?
Well, I'm very hesitant to comment until I go out there. I'll let the dust settle and I'll go out to these active shooter attacks and I'll talk to the police officers, victims, witnesses. The media is just so biased and they don't put out, from what I've learned, they don't put out the correct information. But what I have heard from credible sources is that it was a gun-free zone, which is a green light for active shooters. We know that. That's been documented through tons of active shooter attacks prior, that they go after these gun-free zones because they know there's no resistance in it. And then just from watching the footage of the attack, it tells me that people in that store had not been trained, and the customers and the patrons had no clue about active shooter training or how they're going to react during it. You see the guy with the mask on. He had a colorful mask on, and he's got his COVID mask on, but he's standing in the doorway of the grocery store while the gunman is still shooting people. That's not the thing to be doing. That's not the place to stand. And then there's another guy standing there in the doorway, open doorway, texting. There are people being shot, and you're standing there texting on your phone. Two things that are bad with that. You're not putting distance between you and the shooter. And when the police come and see somebody standing in the doorway with a face mask on, that may not work out too good for the guy with the face mask.
Yeah.
So there's so much to think about with this attack. Situational awareness. I guarantee you that this guy put out some signals that something was coming, or somebody saw him in the parking lot acting suspiciously or loading his rifle, whatever he was doing. Somebody saw it and just either disregarded it or somebody didn't have situational awareness and they weren't paying attention to see it. It's a horrible, horrible thing that occurred. When we go back to the Asian massage parlors attacks that occurred just 6 days earlier, we need to think about the 13-day copycat period. There's a 13-day period where if one active shooter attack occurs, more than likely there'll be a couple more following that. And we don't know the motive behind the Boulder, Colorado supermarket attack or the grocery store attack, but there could be a possibility that it was a copycat attack. A lot of these active shooters in their mind think, okay, this guy did the Asian massage parlors, I can do it better at a grocery store. That's how they think.
Right.
Or maybe they've been wanting to do an active shooter attack and they think, I don't quite have the guts to do it. Wow, this thing just happened in Atlanta. I can go do it now. It's my green light. I can do it better. I can be in the news. So people, we always have to use due diligence and training and practice and situational awareness. But after we have an active shooter attack, those 13 days are very, very critical. Statistically, it's 13 days. So we have to really, really have our head on a swivel, be aware at our workplace, at our church, unusual behavior. There's so much to think about.
Well, that leads me to my next question. We're talking with Marco Galbraith with T4 Tactics. So you're going out to Colorado in the near future. So one of the things the questions that I have is, anytime there is a shooting like this, Congress seems to jump immediately to some type of gun control or something to that effect. And I have seen in the past, whether it's pandemic or environmental concerns, things like that, they have experts on Capitol Hill testifying. When these things happen, when it's gun violence, how often do people like yourself or others go testify? And is that something that Congress really wants to talk to experts on these things and stop just making another law that, you and I both know they're going to break that law and kill more people?
Yeah. Well, the experts that they have come in are going to be their experts. They're going to already know that they want them to say what they want them to say. So they're not going to hear from guys like me or people that have gone out to these scenes and researched it, that these attacks occur in places where it's a gun-free zone or guns are restricted. So it's not the gun. A gun can't do an assault. It's just like a car can't drive down the road by itself and kill somebody and be charged with DUI. Right. You need a person to do that. Where there's a will, there's a way. We have a lot of knife attacks in this country that don't make the news because it doesn't fit the agenda. These foreign countries that don't have the Second Amendment, they don't have firearms, they're having people attacked and killed with swords and knives. We don't hear about that because it doesn't fit the agenda. Sure. So it's not the gun. But to answer your question, the problem with people testifying in Congress, and there's no disrespect to anybody when I say this, but they have the chiefs of police or commanders of these big departments come in. They're detached from what's really happening on the road. I know it because I'm a retired cop, and I've seen guys and girls as they move up, not everybody, but I see guys and girls in the police department as they move up through the ladder or the rank and file, they start becoming a little bit detached from the reality of the road. And police officers that are listening to this, military people, can understand what I'm talking about. So we need to, if we're going to have experts in Congress testify, we need to get the guys and the girls that are the detectives and the investigators and the crime scene techs that go out to these scenes and they're actually working the scene, not a chief or a commander that's been briefed by three different people that weren't even at the scene. You lose touch, you lose reality. So we have to get the right people in front of Congress. If we're going to talk about guns and gun control, we got to get the right people in front of Congress.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that you mentioned, go ahead.
It's not the gun. It's the people. Right. It is not the gun. And they're going to take that. Let's go back to this grocery store shooting. If somebody had been in that grocery store, if it hadn't been a gun-free zone, and somebody had been in that grocery store and he fired the first shot in the parking lot, which killed the police officer, a responsible, well-trained, law-abiding gun owner could have stopped that guy the minute he walked through those double automatic doors at that grocery store.
Yeah,
that's what we have to think about. And when we think about taking guns, let's think about taking the guns away from the security details that are assigned to some of these politicians. Now, all of a sudden, the game's going to change.
Right. So
what's good for the goose is good for the gander.
One of the questions that I had as a business owner or working in an environment, you had mentioned earlier that a lot of times you can look back at the background of these shooters and see warning signs. Can you give us a few warning signs, and how do you kind of break down that information to know whether or not it's serious enough to report, or whether or not sometimes it's just office talk? You know what I mean? How do you determine that?
Yeah. Well, one of the biggest things is having a baseline. So if I'm a cheerful, happy employee, and I've been with your company for 5 or 6 years, and I'm in a great mood and everything's good, and now all of a sudden I'm sitting by myself at lunch, I'm not wanting to talk to people, I'm starting to become angry, maybe my hygiene is not the same, I might be kind of complaining to people, or maybe I feel like I'm being picked on, but I'm off my baseline. That's one of the biggest things to look for. And that doesn't mean that somebody's going to be an active shooter just because they're having, that they're behind on bills at their house, or they're going through a divorce, or one of the kids are sick with something horrible. That doesn't mean they're going to be an active shooter. But most of the time, these active shooters go off their baseline. They start becoming detached or recluse from people. And those are clues and signals. They may say something. The Virginia Tech shooter showed a lot of interest in guns all of a sudden. And he was going to a private range in Blacksburg, Virginia, and just doing some absolutely crazy stuff at that range. And nobody reported it. Nobody said anything until after he killed those students, those 32 students. Then all of a sudden that came out. But to answer your question, having a baseline, when I travel the country, I go to these businesses, these big manufacturing facilities, big and small businesses, and I walk around doing a facility review with usually the HR people or the CEO. We'll walk down the hallway, and as soon as I walk into some of these facilities, I can tell this is a hostile environment or this is a good environment. And when I walk down the hallway and the HR person will say to each person's name that they pass that are working on the assembly line, "Hey, Tom, how you doing? Mary, how you doing? Jack, how are you?" That's a good environment because they've got open communication. But when I walk down the hallway to a different place and the HR or the CEO walks right past an employee and doesn't greet them, that's a recipe for an active shooter. You don't have that communication. You don't have that bonding. And I'm not saying all the people have to have an open door policy, but it's not a good environment when you don't have open communication where people can say, "Hey, so-and-so's off his baseline. I think we need to talk to him."
Well, we appreciate you joining us today. When you get back from Colorado, we'd love to catch up with you and just get some more information, if that's fine.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be a few months. I like to let the dust settle.
Sure.
I like to let the victims, witnesses, survivors, police officers talk to their mental health specialists. So I want to give them time to where the healing time is where they want to talk to me, but it does take some time to come down off the shock and then I'll head out there. But I will definitely let you know, and we'll come back on, and I'll tell you the truth about what happened out there.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you being with us today. Thanks, Marco.
All right. You guys have a great one. Thanks for having me on.
All right. We thank Marco for coming on and give us an update with that. Now on the local news, DW, I didn't know if you saw this, but the Virginia Parole Board scandal.
Yes.
Have you followed any of that?
I have been watching it. Yes.
So I found it fascinating that one of the members, she's actually being looked at for a judge position, but the office of the Inspector General's office, I guess it was, at the state of Virginia, the report said that not only were policies not followed, but laws were broken.
Right.
So I'm interested to see how this plays out. Of course, most people remember Yen Soaring was released recently, and there's been some others.
Yeah, part of the reason I followed is when I was in high school, there was a girl that lived in our neighborhood who went missing and was found.
Oh, that's right.
A week later in the ditch, covered up in the leaves stuff. And the young fella that committed that crime was recently released.
Yes, I do remember that.
Even though he, had gotten life.
Wow.
And so I knew that family, so I had a little connection there that, kind of bothered me that happened. So.
Yeah, so as most people hear the train in the background, that's
Yeah.
what we do here at the studio. We provide entertainment through all avenues.
Yes.
So on to our funny story of the day.
Yes, this is good.
This is local too.
Yeah.
So did you know about this story?
I did.
Okay.
Yes.
So a man in Lynchburg attempted to flee police with a horse. While this is funny, it didn't end well. The man was wanted on an outstanding warrant for violating a protective order. He stole the horse and tried to flee from police. Now, I'm not a mathematician, but 1 horsepower versus 400 is not going to end well.
Right. Yeah.
So,
Did I die?
Yeah.
the gentleman, who was later identified as Steve Rucker Jr. from Amherst, fell off his horse and was struck by a police cruiser.
Yeah.
He was transported to the hospital where he is in serious but stable condition. Now, we were able to catch up to the horse for an interview.
Yes.
I think a man should wear the pants in his family, not his horse.
Will you try to understand? Roger is doing me a favor. I stand to make a lot of money.
Is money everything? When my friends see that picture, I'll be the laughing livestock of the country.
I wouldn't want that, Ed.
And another thing, Mom taught us kids to be proud we were horses.
There you go.
She did, huh?
Eddie, she'd say, hold your head up.
Yeah, you go.
Yeah, we were able to catch up with the
Well,
horses.
we should call Wes Nance and ask him, could you press charges on the horse? Because I'm sure the horse was getting yelled commands to stop as well, and he didn't stop.
Oh, that's a good point.
So he was eluding police as well because he didn't stop.
Well, I mean, he's the vehicle, though, isn't he? I mean,
But he's
if the guy tells you he's telling the car to
but
stop.
he's alive and he's got ears and he listens.
Okay, I can go along with
I'm
that.
sure it's a lot of other people they probably dealt with had the same IQ.
Anyway, that's our news. Ah, here we go.
That's what was playing when he fell off that horse.
Did you use the beep button?
Would be button.
Oh, boy. So,
There you go.
all right. Now, on to our guest for the day. Let me take care of some bills here. DW,
Yes.
who do you have your insurance with?
State Farm.
Mm-hmm. So do I.
Yeah.
Well, like a good neighbor, David Honaker is there for you. Yes. David has over 30 years of experience in the business. He's your local State Farm dealer here in Bedford. He can answer those tough questions that you may have. He's my insurance agent. He's your insurance agent.
As well. Yeah.
He does my home, auto,
Yep.
personal property.
Same here.
I'm trying to think what else is there.
My motorhome, my golf cart.
Yep.
Yep.
Same here. I don't have a golf cart, though.
Yeah.
You know, I tried to, when I was on council, get a golf cart ordinance so we could drive around town in a golf cart.
That's awesome.
Oh, that'd be great.
It didn't work.
What?
It failed. The motion failed. Matter of fact, we did go to a vote, didn't
we? Did. We talked about it, yeah.
No, but anyway.
Time to bring that back up.
Yeah.
But if it did pass, guess what? I guarantee you State Farm would have insured it.
Yeah.
You can call David at 540-586-8194. They have the answers that you need on your home, auto, and life.
Yes.
I might need to check into that. So call David again at 540-586-8194. Or if you just want to stop by his office and say hi to Nana.
That's it.
It's she'll end up doing the quote probably for you, and she's terrific at it.
Yeah.
They'll answer your questions. Their office is over off 460 near Walmart. So call David, tell him you heard from us. So we'd like to welcome Brad Pangston. He is the Old Dominion Athletic Conference. Welcome to the show, Brad.
Yeah, guys, thanks for having me. It's been entertaining for the first half hour.
Well, we try to, you know.
I feel like I'm at like King's Dominion or something, standing underneath the roller coaster, waiting to get on. I mean, it's a very similar sound.
So where are you originally from?
I am from a little town not too far away from here called Keysville, Virginia, which is south of Farmville, about 15, 20 minutes on 15.
Yeah. So did you go to Randolph Henry?
I went to Randolph Henry High School. I sure did.
Now, these are things I don't know.
Yeah.
I had no idea. My family, I've got deep roots down there.
Yeah.
My aunt probably taught you.
and your aunt was
Patty Fannin.
Patty Fannin. I don't think I ever had Miss Fannin, but I went to school with Cindy Fannin.
Mm-hmm. It's my cousin. Saw her today.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I'm not sure where she was teaching. Where was Miss Fannin teaching? Middle school, maybe? I don't know. I
never asked those questions.
No, both of my parents were teachers as well. So I was actively involved in the school system there for many, 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 many years.
Did you play athletics there?
I played baseball there my sophomore, junior, and senior year in high
That
school.
is if ever, like, there are schools high schools for certain things. I'm just telling you right now, Randolph Henry is a baseball academy.
Yes.
Year in and year out.
Well, the funny piece of this is, and it's ironic, I guess. My dad was the coach there for those years when that got established in the late '60s into around. He finished coaching in '86-ish.
Okay.
Ended up being the athletic director. They named the baseball field after him, and he, unfortunately, he recently passed two weeks ago.
Oh, wow.
And the one thing I would say about Keysville and places like Bedford too, it's the touching piece of it is the difference people making, he made in people's lives, and have them reach back out. Yeah. Unfortunately, with the COVID world, we haven't probably didn't have a chance to honor him the way we should have.
Sure.
But we did have a chance to hear from so many people that he made just significant differences in their lives, and that's what teachers do every day.
Yeah,
so
every day.
Very thankful for him.
Yeah. So where did you go on to college?
I went to Appalachian State for 2 years, then to the University of North Carolina, and then went to Virginia Tech grad school. And that kind of got me involved with the ODAC because the ODAC's office at the time was in Salem, Virginia, right outside of Roanoke. And I had a friend who was working in Hampton-Sydney at the time. Having grown up right down the road from Hampton-Sydney, I did a lot of work when I was in high school there from the media side of athletics. And my dad and I would actually go over and keep stats for the basketball games and did that for many years. And he called me and said, hey, they need some help. I said, I'm in grad school. I need some money.
Yeah.
And 2 and 2 equal to 4. And we had an opportunity to kind of start a working relationship in 1993.
Okay.
And I have been doing it ever since. I've changed roles, but I've been involved with the league since 1993.
You're probably one of the first people I've heard come out of Appalachian State that's not a lawyer.
Yeah.
That's a great point.
Because that's a big school known for attorneys.
They generating attorneys out of there. Yeah. There are a lot of teachers out of there too.
Well, they probably gave you an IQ test and you was a little higher, so you.
Yeah, I don't know about that. It was familiarity for me. My parents spent a lot of time. They both went to school there and spent a lot of time in Boone. I grew up in the summers in Boone when my dad was doing some graduate work there. So it was a very fond place in my heart.
Yeah. So you took over in '98.
I did, 97, 98 time frame. My predecessor, Dan Waldridge, had done a wonderful job, and Dan actually was a part-time commissioner, and I was a full-time assistant commissioner, which really didn't, make much sense. And he was ready to give it up, and they gave me the opportunity to lead. And, as I was 26, 27 years old, and
wow,
I went in an interview with the ADs. I'll never forget it. And they asked me what my philosophy was, and I told them, "What philosophy? I'm 26. I'm just trying to figure out what the heck I'm doing." And then I visited with several of the presidents, had some ideas of things that we needed to do, and Dan was ready. It was just kind of like, look at your, not that I'm tired, but I think you can take it to a different level. And he provided such a great foundation for me that it was easy, and the schools are fantastic. The people I work with are amazing, and they've been that way ever since I started.
So the conferences in and of itself, when the Division I started this sort of trend of it seemed like every conference was changing and grabbing. Did Division III go through any of that, or you guys are just pretty much set on?
We're so different. When you think about the makeup of a Division I league, the finances related to travel, the reasons why people have conference members related to media markets and other things that play into so many different financial puzzles for them. At our level, it's about geography. Geography is king. Likeness is king. Being with institutions that you feel like you're similar to, from a standpoint of recruiting, certainly location, budget, staffing, because you can really get some disparities at our level of, institutions such as, NYU, New York University's Division III. And their enrollment is probably 30,000 or more, right?
Oh, wow.
Which is insane, all the way down to a Sweetbriar who's in our league, who we all know have had their struggles early on and miraculously have kept going, which is amazing what they've done there. We're very happy that they have, and they've got an enrollment of 400,
Right.
and they're still competing. So it's such a wide variety. Same thing would be in Division I. You've got schools that are enormous with schools that are smaller. But Division III hasn't had the same shuffle from a conference member perspective. And, of course, we've gone through some changes recently.
Right.
And a lot of that's driven by just availability for competition for our student athletes in certain sports. And that's a lot of what drives us sometimes when we're looking for a new member.
Well, this year, probably unlike any other, has had to have been a nightmare. I mean, scheduling. And so your bosses are ADs, I would assume.
Yeah, technically my bosses are the presidents.
Okay.
But they are the be all end all decision makers in our league. Our ADs run the day-to-day operations of what we do.
Mm-hmm.
And if I had to, I guess percentage deal with a group of individuals, probably 85-15 towards skewed to the ADs.
Mm-hmm.
And I have an executive committee of the presidents made up of 3 presidents that doesn't rotate. They're kind of appointed within the group, and they serve as my sounding board when I get something to the presidents. And during COVID, we've probably cumulatively met with our presidents more in the last year than I've done in the last 10 years.
Gotcha.
And, I know one of the things that we had talked about, what was the most difficult thing to do? And, honestly, it's keep everybody on the same page, knowing that their perspectives are different, their needs are different.
Mm-hmm.
That's that way every day when I wake up to go into the office, but it's just compounded in a COVID world. And keeping everybody on one page it hasn't been a challenge because they're so strong.
Mm-hmm.
The institutions are so strong and they work so well together. It's just basically integrating so many more people into the conversation that typically on a day-to-day basis aren't engaged in that from the beginning. And
Sure.
credit to our people really for getting us where we are, being willing to compete, putting the resources behind it that they needed to put us in a position where we could. And credit goes to the ADs and the presidents for doing that.
So we're talking to Brad Bankston, who is the commissioner of Old Dominion Athletic Conference on Life, Liberty, Happiness. So now you've got football, right, going on. That is definitely different. Will you guys have a championship or anything for that season, or?
We are, and it's been a hot topic over the course for the last week or so because we had one institution, Washington Lee, was not able to, because of their roster and because of COVID protocols. They had so many young men that were participating in the sport that were on either quarantine or for contact tracing on campus, could never get the team together to actually physically have a practice large enough to be able to make it work.
Mm-hmm.
So each one of our football teams intended to play 4 games. Some have played 3. Our last weekend of competition is this weekend. A big game, Randolph-Macon and Hampton-Sydney. The game is being played on Saturday afternoon at Hampton-Sydney. And that's going to determine who plays Emory and Henry, who was on the other side, quote unquote, of the schedule. But we didn't do it in divisions. Emory and Henry ended up 3-0, and either Hampton-Sydney or Randolph-Macon is going to end up with an undefeated record. And we were trying to figure out how to do a tiebreaker when everybody doesn't play everybody. You don't have the ability to be able to compare scores because everybody hasn't had a common opponent. So we've kind of gone back to common opponents to be able to figure out who's going to end up hosting that game. And, it's all on the line this weekend, and we'll play the following Saturday.
That's good. We've had at Liberty High School, we got a couple, one at Randolph-Macon and one at Averett, I think, that graduated last year. So speaking of Averett, so you've got a new member coming in.
We do. A lot of changes for us over the course of the last 3 years, really. Ferrum College came into the league several years ago. We also had gone through the process from a membership perspective, and it looked at a number of institutions locally around us that were Division III institutions. And when Emory and Henry made the choice to go Division II, they'll be participating with us in football for next academic year, 21-22, but will leave us in 22-23. We were in a situation where we knew we had to have competitive opportunities for our student athletes, specifically in the sport of football, and wanted to replace Emory and Henry because, our numbers are good. We had kind of been in a good rhythm of the schedules that we had. We're a little creative with how we schedule, a little unusual than some of our Division III counterparts in some of our sports. But we wanted to bring them into the fold, and we were able to do that and finalize all that after after first of the year. So it's been a hectic year with COVID, and it's been a hectic year with membership as well. But I'm happy to say we're in a better place.
Well, now do you feel like, because it's a odd, you're losing a longtime member in Emory Henry, but they're going Division II. Do you get a little sense of, they were in a good conference is why they're moving up to Division II?
They are. It would be unfair for me to speak why they made the decision that they did.
Sure.
But I do know that from an institutional perspective, they think it's best for them long term.
Mm-hmm.
They do a lot of recruiting in Southwest Virginia, Western North Carolina, Eastern Tennessee, Eastern Kentucky. And primarily, when you look at the composition of those institutions, they're Division II institutions, they're NAIA institutions, and you get into that scholarship conversation with the student athlete, regardless of kind of what the difference is between a financial aid package at Division III versus an athletic aid at a Division II, it's probably the equivalent, maybe even better in certain cases. But they feel like that's going to put their institution in a better place from a healthiness, fiscal standpoint for them long term. I didn't want to lose them. They're a great group of people. I have a very fond place. I love that part of the country. I love that part of the state. And I had a very good friend of mine that went there to play football, and he just thought the sun rose and set in that place.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
I said the same thing to their president when he called me to tell me he was going. I was like, it's certainly bittersweet.
Sure.
But I wish the best for them, and we all do. I mean, everybody wants them to be successful as an institution.
So are you comfortable? Well, I mean, do you meet with the president and you say, look, this is a comfortable number for us? Or do you look at just when the opportunities come by, you just have to take them on a case by case?
I think, you need to kind of figure out where your needs are.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, you can, I guess in business, in anything in life, right? It's about strategic planning. It's about thinking where you want to be.
Sure.
And most often and oftentimes, unfortunately, you end up reacting.
Right.
So we're going to embark on a strategic planning conversation about where we need to be from a membership standpoint. The real difficulty for us and the real rub is related to football. We've got good numbers in our other sports and highly competitive as well. But our football numbers are small enough to where when leagues around us are larger, you only play once a week. You don't have the ability to actually be able to get a game on the week that you need a game at a conference. So, in order for us to be able to have our student athletes play a full season, which for Division III is 10 games over an 11-week period, we need to make sure that they have that ability to do that. And we have some members that don't have football, probably never will have football.
Right.
Certainly, Hollins and Sweetbriar probably aren't going to start football anytime soon.
Yeah.
But those that don't have it from a co-ed perspective probably aren't going to add it in the immediate future. So we need to continue to keep that in mind as we move forward.
Sure. Now, when the ODAC wins a national championship, no matter who it is that a bragging right that a commissioner gets to at least say, hey,
it is.
I always wonder, like when you watch Division I, you see how competitive. I'm telling you, go down to LSU, and it doesn't have to be LSU. It's SEC. I mean, you can't flip anything without SEC, and similar here with ACC. But I've always wondered, being a commissioner, are you like, bragging rights? You get,
You do. I mean, you wish maybe sometimes you had more of them than somebody else does. And I think it's certainly indicative of the quality of competition. I think our league is one of the best in Division III for balance, location, competitiveness, institution, stability kind of standpoint. But oftentimes, there are other institutions, there's some that are very dominant in certain sports, especially in the Northeast, that have, a lot of national championships under their belt. We haven't had a lot, but when we have them, it's been great. And actually, if I had to go back and count, and the highly acclaimed Virginia Wesleyan College, now University, in Norfolk, probably has the most. With a men's basketball championship and 2 softball championships most recently. So, and an individual golf championship within the last since the middle of 2000s, I guess. So they've done exceptionally well.
Most guys into sports stuff like that. So when they go to work and they got a full-time job, at some point during the day they're on their phone checking scores, checking this and that. Your job is sports all day.
Yeah.
So what is your relief?
Yeah, what do you check outside of sports?
Yeah, well, I check on my kids. That's probably something that I try to do. I try not to. I'm fond of North Carolina. I'm fond of watching them play athletics. You don't and won't find me probably at home watching sports 24/7. My youngest son's very interested in it, and I like to appease him by doing that as well. But I try to play golf. I try to do some things outside. I've certainly been trying to exercise more over the course of the last couple of years, and that's kept me busy. I didn't think when I was, 25, 26, when we first had kids in our early 30s, how much time demand there is there as well. But it's intensive, and I know it's even exponentially intensive when you have somebody that's playing multiple sports, traveling all over, the East Coast, trying to do that. We're not doing that, but they keep us busy, and they run the house better than we do. We just kind of show up and leave.
Now this, sorry, Brian. Go ahead. This past January, you was honored with an award.
Oh yeah,
from some of your peers. Tell us about that.
Yeah, well, somebody asked me when they were announcing it. Of course, everything's virtual now, and I was half paying attention in the meeting, to be honest with you. I was probably checking my phone, doing something, and it's like 40 people up on the screen, and I'm kind of watching it. And then they say, well, now on to our Meritorious Service Award. And they read a little bio. And one of the things says he enjoys a good IPA. And I was like, uh-oh, I think I may have won this, So they went into a very nice little honor. And yeah, it's great when you're honored by your peers. The first text I got when they started reading it, somebody said, this must be voter fraud. We're going to have to check to see whether this is actually real or fake. And but it's I've done a lot within the division over the years, and I've learned a lot from those people in that room.
Yeah.
So it's an honor to be.
Yeah, I think it's a great testament
to
how good of a job you do that your peers point you out like that and put you up there. So
either that or you're old.
That's right.
That's
you're not old.
That couldn't be it.
Or they're getting ready to say, maybe it's time that you think about doing something else.
If you stay around long enough, you get that kind of stuff.
I know.
So on the IPA thing, real quick, have you been up here to Bill's and tried?
I have. Which one did I have? I have to say I have my best COVID purchase might be a kegerator, and I like to have a cold beer, a draft beer. I had one of their New England IPAs right out of the gate, and my wife, the standard on her side of the keg is Beals Gold. So
same here.
Yeah.
Well, awesome. We appreciate you being on the show, but we always ask our guests the last question. If you could pick anyone, present or past, to spend 24 hours with, who would it be and where would you go?
So, I have to say my wife, right?
Yeah. Right. That's the go-to answer on the show sometimes.
Well, I kind of felt like that was a loaded question, and it was a loaded answer for sure, even though I love her to death. She's a wonderful lady. I'm probably going to catch you guys off guard with this one. You probably never heard this, but I'm going to tell you Orville and Wilbur Wright.
Oh, that's interesting.
And I'm going to tell you where I go. I would go to the Nepali coast in Hawaii.
Wow.
Man. Wow.
So that's deep.
Now,
that's a great answer, though.
What's your, because as a kid, we always went to Nag's Head, and I was fascinated.
Yeah.
And so where did your fascination come with those two?
I read a book about them. There's a book by David McCullough. It was written in 2015, I think. And I had no idea the trials and tribulations that those two guys went through to try to figure out, being in a swarm of mosquitoes in Kitty Hawk when there was nothing there, right? And you go down there, my father-in-law owned a house. You couldn't quite see the monument, but it was close, maybe a mile and a half away from the monument. We would go down, and my kids went over to see the monument. I'd seen it years before, and just the impact that had on me reading that book.
Yeah.
And to think what they left behind. Right. I mean, think about that. And there were probably a lot of people, and I think that book, if I remember correctly, talks a little bit about other people that were going through the process of trying to chase the same idea.
Yeah.
But look at the legacy those guys left.
Yeah. Oh, there's no joke. I mean, you're exactly right.
And you get in an airplane, and you think to yourself, how in the, what, is this thing going to get off the ground?
Yeah.
I'm fascinated by it. I'm just totally fascinated by it. I never, my wife's like, I think I'll give you flying lessons. And then she said, I priced it out, and I said, I decided I'm not giving you flying lessons. And I'm not sure I would have had the chutzpah to be able to get up there and do that. You know?
Get a simulator. It's
Yeah, I think it would be fantastic. And just the physics of the whole thing is just amazing to me. I watch a bird.
Yeah.
Look at a bird. Those guys looked at birds all the time.
Yeah.
They were trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
So
That's great.
when you told me that question, I thought, I want to think about it because I think I'd like to know what they went through.
Yeah.
And the Napali Coast in Hawaii, it doesn't get any better than that.
No, that's exactly
it's
right.
the best of the best.
Yeah.
So.
Well, we appreciate you coming on the show. We'd love to have you back in the future too.
I'd love to do it.
All
I'd
right.
love to do it.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, stick around. Don't leave.
All right, DW.
All right,
Pay some bills.
let's do it.
Nobody knows.
Oh, hey, Brian.
I know. I had to cue you. It's all right.
CNS Business Services is your place to get all your business problems solved. Call 540-586-1120. Brian, you should ask for Susan or Charlene. They can do your payroll, taxes, you name it. They can handle it. You know, when this COVID thing first hit and the PPP loans became available, Brian called Charlene and asked her how would he go about doing it. And she said, "Don't worry, I will handle it." That's the type of person she is. 2 weeks later, he received his loan, and there we go. It takes just one phone call. Your time is valuable. Don't spend on things that you know nothing about. Call them today and let them handle it. They are the real professionals. Call 540-586-1120. CNS Business Services. There we go.
All right. Nobody knows. We're going to do a little March Madness. Nobody knows. So, Brian, your odds of filling out a perfect bracket are not good.
I can't wait to hear the odds.
I mean, we already knew that, but in fact, you have a better chance of winning the lottery,
I figured that.
getting struck by lightning, or here's one you can relate to, or being elected.
Wait a minute, getting reelected.
Yeah, getting reelected.
I thought that struck by lightning would be like 2 or 3 times being struck by lightning.
Yeah. So only one bottom seed has ever unseated a top seed in the first round. Mm-hmm. And y'all know who that might have been?
Yeah, UMBC over Virginia.
Who?
UMBC, University of Maryland, Baltimore County.
Yep, 16th seed, University of Maryland, Baltimore County, Retrievals, top.
If I'm not mistaken,
UVA.
I can't remember his first name, but his last name is Odom.
Ryan Odom.
And he attended...
He was a Hampton City student athlete.
Wow.
That's exactly right.
And his father was Dave Odom.
Dave Odom at Wake
who
Forest.
coached at Wake Forest.
I'll be
Wow.
damned. Look at that.
Well,
See,
somebody
we do
knows.
All right, let's see if you know this one. The lowest seed to ever win the tournament.
Ooh. I think it's Michigan 8th seed.
You had to go Michigan, but no.
Of course he said.
You got it right. It was number 8, but it was Villanova.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
1985.
I was going to say
Beat
Rolling
Georgetown.
Massimino.
Beat Georgetown. Yeah, it was
The
a great
very
game.
next year, 11th seed LSU became the lowest seed to crack the Final Four. And then that feat was repeated by George Mason in 2006 and then VCU in 2011.
Yeah.
I remember the VCU one because of Billis going nuts at the Selection Sunday about how VCU did not belong in the tournament. You remember Jay Billis was railing against them.
Jay Billis is a dookie, so he rails on a lot of things.
What year was the only year that all 4 number 1 seeds made it to the Final Four?
All chalk.
I have no idea.
Good. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'd say 2008.
I would,
2008.
was
That's
it really?
it.
That's it?
That's it.
Whoa.
But,
I want to
did
go.
you know that?
That was a guess, but I'm thinking that was the year Florida.
Gosh, man, you retain this stuff.
yeah.
I'm a huge fan. I love.
Okay.
I can't name all 4 of them, but Florida, Kansas. No, what is it?
All right. Well, I didn't get to
Oh,
Bill.
yeah,
I didn't
Billy Donovan was probably at Florida
Yeah, I think
Head
that was
coach,
that
maybe.
run there where Florida
before he
won.
went to Oklahoma State,
Yes.
Oklahoma City. Oh, he went to Oklahoma City, didn't he? Yeah.
All right. Here's let's see how smart you are.
Okay.
What was the first year of the NCAA tournament?
Don't tell me because I can go back to Larry Bird would have been
Oh no, it was way
No.
before that.
way before that.
Yeah, way before that. So there was it had to be, I'm guessing, the 30s or 40s.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
And because, Carolina won it in 57.
I just figured they gave.
I'm going to
Carolina
guess,
back then.
it's got to be maybe, I'm going to go after the war. I don't know, 47.
39.
Oh, 39.
University of Oregon won the first one.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
But I wonder, so back then, because it switched from 32 to 64 win.
I wouldn't remember that. But it was.
I thought that was in the 80s, right? When it switched?
Yeah, I don't know. That's not one of my things.
Should have brushed up on my trivia before I came.
Yeah, that's right. So the phrase March Madness was coined in 1982 by who?
1982?
Yes.
And you'd like to think Jim Nance as much as he. But no, I don't know.
No, I wouldn't know if the NCAA trademarked it.
Brent Musburger.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
He blurted it out during the tournament coverage that year.
It's like, you're looking live.
Yeah.
Oh,
You're looking live at State Farm Studio.
Only one coach has ever won both the championships in the NCAA and NBA.
Daggone you.
Wasn't Larry Brown.
That's it.
Oh, there you
Larry
go.
Brown, Kansas Jayhawks in 88, and Detroit,
Tar Heel.
The Detroit Pistons in 2004.
My wife just texted me, you can't find the laundry basket in the house, but you can remember this crap. Oh.
That's a good one.
Tell her that's important stuff.
What school is the only school to have their men and women's team win the national championship in the same year?
I'm going to say Connecticut.
And they've done it twice.
Connecticut.
Would be a good guess.
Because it's always, and you got to think when Connecticut won it just 6 years ago, Sabaz Napier was the point guard.
It wouldn't have been UCLA because UCLA won it a lot on the men's side. I'm trying to think.
Well, Brian is going to be pissing his wife off more because you're correct.
Yeah, it's got to be Connecticut.
Yeah, it was Connecticut in 2004 and 2014.
Yeah, because they had that run on the women's side. You got to get somebody that's won a ton of them on one or the other.
Exactly.
Side.
So it is estimated that the hourly corporate losses loses how much money in productivity because of people during March Madness doing brackets and all that stuff.
It'd be in the. I got to think it's in the billions.
Billions. It's got to be.
Yeah, it is. It's almost $2 billion.
Yeah, people don't realize it's a big deal.
Yeah, it is. It is. So with that, one last thing here, and you might know this one right here. Ad revenue for the tournament. How much was the revenue for the whole tournament, you think?
For ad revenue?
This isn't what the NCAA gets.
Nope,
this is ad revenue.
Just ads.
Holy moly. Well, I can tell you the NCAA gets about $1 billion a year in rights fees for it, which means I got to think it's higher than that.
Yeah, 1.5.
Yeah.
God. So,
It's a big number.
Yeah, that's
Wow.
crazy. That's about what Brian pulls in this here.
About almost.
Well, you know,
being a host
with all the big jobs you get,
all the
and everything.
sponsorships.
I think the funny
State
thing,
Farm.
the funny thing you guys would know, I mean, the NCAA is funded not solely by the proceeds from the Division I men's tournament, but primarily from that.
Oh, wow.
So if you do any reading, it's fascinating to understand just how important that tournament is to them.
Yeah.
Because without that tournament, last year's a perfect example. Yeah. Division III gets 3.18%. Division II gets 4.26 of the original nut, right? After the fact, they pay for all the expenses. They operate the office, et cetera, through their budgetary process. The rest of the money's divvied up in Division I.
Wow.
Through revenue sharing. Last year they lost all the money. They had an insurance policy. I think paid them about $250 million, when they're accustomed to getting around $800 million. Gosh,
I never would have thought about having an insurance policy or something like that.
There's a catastrophic insurance policy that covered a pandemic.
Oh,
wow, man. They were extremely lucky.
Now, see, the person who came up with that to make sure they had that insurance never will get a pat on the back.
Yeah, right.
But without it, that one person in the office that nobody knows about said, you know what, we probably should have insurance in case of a pandemic.
Think about what the premium is on that sucker right now.
Yeah, I'd say that guy.
Talk about the State Farm insurance. He might be able to quote you on that.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, yeah. Man, that's crazy.
That's great information. So...
There he is, Brent.
That's right. So that leads me to another question. Are you employed by the NCAA?
No. I'm employed by the institution. So we are a nonprofit 501c3, just like an institution is under the educational umbrella of the tax code.
So do you have an opinion on the attack? I'm a purist.
Okay.
So the attacks that the NCAA constantly gets from the Jay Billises and people like that, do you have an opinion on any of that? Of
related to what?
Just related to student athletes getting paid. This year, I've seen it come up with kids wearing shirts. I'm not the NCAA's property. Blah blah blah.
Right.
I mean,
I'm not sure. I think the way I would look at it, certainly at the Division III level, it's entirely different, right? There's not a profit kind of margin going on in our athletic department, obviously, than the role that athletics plays within our institutional missions, right? At the Division I level, there's certainly a need to have some of those sports being supported by the public in the manner in which they are.
Mm-hmm.
That in turn is driving the rest of the athletic department in a way to pay for whatever's going on at the Division I level. I mean, just the scholarship needs for everyone to be competitive.
Oh, yeah.
Certainly at the Autonomy 5 creates, in my opinion, a rub with who's actually helping you get there. The question is, are you comfortable in that as a student athlete? Is that degree enough? And I'm going through the process right now with my older son and going through how much does it cost to go to school?
Yeah.
Well, in my opinion, that's a pretty good benefit.
You're darn right.
That's the way I look at it.
Yeah.
At the same time, are there opportunities and options for them to be creative and have the ability to manage their own likeness?
Mm-hmm.
Probably.
Yeah.
And I think the NCAA is going to be forced to do that.
Yeah.
I think they were going through the process of evaluating that until the state legislature started to kind of put these laws on the books that are forcing their hand to do it faster.
Mm-hmm.
We were prepared to vote on a piece of legislation in the Division III level that gave a lot of autonomy to student athletes. I mean, there's some really crazy stories, and I'll say something the wrong way here, and I don't want to do that, but
It's okay.
there are crazy stories about a kid who wrote a book who was a golfer at the Division III level about his experience in the summer, and he couldn't profit from it because it was about being involved with golf. Well, he was just an entrepreneurial kid, right?
Yeah.
And I'm sure people wanted to read his book.
Mm-hmm.
And, if those stories are out there and they get out, people go, well, that's absurd. Well, there's also the extreme of the other way, right? Where somebody could take advantage of it. So I thought you were going to lead down a road of recently the NCAA's criticism about the equality between the men's and the women's tournament that you've read about most recently. And being on the inside, I tend to defend them probably more often than I should, but I know how those decisions are made. I mean, they're getting ready to make a tournament in a bubble, in an environment they've never done before, in facilities that they've never been a part of, and they're trying to have these centralized located spots to where they're supposed to take, if you want this and I want this and Ryan wants that, we're trying to do everything to make everybody feel good, and things get overlooked.
Sure they
do. And I think I know those people.
Mm-hmm.
I know the woman who runs the Division I National Championship. I know she's a good person, and I know there was never any intention on her part to slight anybody. In reality, what does it look like publicly? That doesn't appear that they've handled it the best with some of their responses out of the gate. But I believe they want to do the right thing.
The whole pandemic thing is a learning thing for everybody.
For everybody. We can't all get it right.
Who in your lifetime has been through a pandemic?
Well, think about what they're trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're bringing 68 teams on the men's side and women's side together, right? They're piling these people together. They're coming into one centralized location. They got to create a group that's going to test them every day. Imagine this, thousands and thousands of tests.
Yeah.
Then they're taking them all into a hotel. Everybody has their own room. They got to feed everybody. Mm-hmm. Logistically, it's an absolute nightmare. To think that they were going to go through that without having some hiccups. I'm sorry there are inequalities, and if it was reversed, I'd feel the same way, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I think they got it right.
Yep.
It's just unfortunate they had to go through it because I'm sure the planning. What I'm saying is the planning had to be just.
Well, I would think people should appreciate that the hiccups came in something as simple as the weight room, and not feeding or housing them or testing them or the safety protocols. That if that's the only hiccup they got, good job for them, man.
That's what I said. I went through this Friday night. We were playing Easy Glass, and we had a referee on our side that was young. You could tell. I've been around the sport long enough to know who's a veteran and who's not. And he had threw his flag when he was marking a fumble. things like that. He's just nervous. You could tell. And one of our coaches is just lighting into him. And I looked at him and I said, let me ask you a question. When you were a coach, your very first year, could you imagine being at varsity level, being a head coach, and having to do it all right from the get-go? And he said, what are you talking about? I said, the guy's learning, man. Give him a break.
That's right.
It's not like he was screwing up. So it's the NCAA. They're going through a learning curve of trying to get all of this done because they've lost a ton of revenue, like you've said.
Well, they did last year, and,
right?
And they're going to be okay. And did they make a mistake? Clearly, they made a mistake. I hope they own it and hope they move on. But talking about officiating, and you guys, we're at the end, but people need to remember that you need them to play.
Yeah.
And the way that we've always looked at it, and I think the way people treat them is unacceptable. A lot of times they are learning.
Yep.
They have to learn somewhere.
Yep.
I tell our coaches, I tell our athletic directors, I tell our officials, you're at our level for a reason, right? You're not the guy that's out making or the woman that's making, $1,500 to $3,000 a night working a Division I basketball game. You're making $200, and you're either working your way up, you're comfortable where you are for whatever reason, or you're working your way down. Mm-hmm. And we need to learn that we are the incubator for people that want to move up, and we're going to get them, and they're not going to stay with us long, and they're going to move up, and we need to bear that in mind and treat them that way too.
Yeah. Well, again, we probably could go.
Oh, yeah. And I think it's cool to have him on because, for being in this area 40, 50 years myself and driving down there so many years, seeing that ODAC sign in Forest. And I've always wondered, what is that there for?
Yeah. So what are these people doing back here? Yeah.
The minions.
A lot of people probably think that.
I thought, Andy Dooley had an office in Forest under a different name or something.
All right, on to business highlight. Their business highlight is Rapid Printing. Rapid Printing, if you know Liz.
I do.
Right there off of Bridge Street, 113 Bridge Street. So check out Rapid Printing when you get a chance. So wonderful show. Tammy, I thank you for all your input.
Oh, yeah.
You always bring a lot to the show.
Yeah, that's right. Candy, which I didn't do today.
So
you'll probably get calls. She talks too much.
Yeah.
Hey, you probably don't know this, but I think we're about 3 or 4 shows in.
Yeah.
One of the complaints I got was I talk too much on the show.
Yeah. It's a talk show.
You're the host.
Who do they want to hear from that week? Somebody else other than you?
I guess. Yeah. So, you got to take all the
And that person's listening today.
Oh, yes.
That's good.
Yeah. We won't call him out by name.
No.
We'll just say he's a little grumpy.
Yeah, it was a good show. Great show. I enjoyed the heck out of it. We could talk sports all. So, but we do appreciate you being on. Thanks a lot.
Well, I got a lot of people that could help you talk sports. That you guys want to talk sports, I can set you up with some people.
All right. Well, we appreciate it. And same time next week. Yep. Before we leave, I need a sports sponsor if you're listening. And I know you're out there because we give plenty of free plugs to businesses. So, and by the way, I got one of our sponsors, CNS Business Services. I think she picked up 2 new clients.
Nice.
Off the show. So, yes.
Congratulations.
So your advertising dollars are not wasted.
Right.
That's for sure.
Yes. And Brian, don't forget to mention that Grove Street FM is available in both app stores and on the website. So not only are you reaching a local audience, but even further than that. So
that's true. Real quickly, Woody, I know you probably can't do it off the top of your head, but the shows.
Yeah.
We got Talk Local to Me.
We got Talk Local to Me. We've got Chamber Vibes. We have Morning Vibes, which is a live morning show every Wednesday at 8:30 where we talk local chamber business. And the Always Steady Landmark show, Life, Liberty, Happiness.
The Anchor Show.
The Anchor
It
Show.
is the Anchor
This
Show.
is it. The Pillar.
Now, you have a show, don't you?
I have several podcasts, yes. So and we put those in rotation on Grove Street FM. So if you download the app or listen on the website, you'll hear, gosh, we have old episodes of Life, Liberty, Happiness playing. Just about every podcast we record here, we put that on the station for you to listen to. Cool Talk, everything. And then we even have some other shows playing that are actually syndicated. So one of them is out of, I thought it'd be a good fit, Beale Street in Memphis, Beale Street Caravan. We have them on, and we have a countdown show. So it's really, you can tune in all day, and there's content all day.
Good. And DW, book still selling?
Book's selling real good. probably have another one follow up by Christmas.
Sweet. So you're working on the third book.
Working on the
Your
second, third
book.
one. Yeah, this will be second in the series with Boots, the cow.
I can't wait. I'm excited.
Yep. Hopefully, keep my fingers crossed. Maybe a website up soon.
Yep.
Perfect.
Yep.
And you're going to donate all the proceeds to Brian's RV.
No. No. It'll be split again between the Cartercraft Foundation and the My Wife Foundation.
All right. We'll see y'all again next week.